Convening in Johannesburg to discuss corruption in both South African corporates and government. It's part of the Daily Maverick's Business Against Corruption event. The panel includes Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, Business Leadership South Africa's Bonang Mohale, and new NPA boss Shamila Batoy, just to name a few. Well, Aviwe Mtila is already out there at this event joining us this morning. Aviwe, a very good morning to you. And I think just a very quick idea as to how this event came about. I mean, obviously there are major concerns. There have been concerns for years as we see the various inquiries continuing their work. But what was it that lit the fire under this for an event, Business Against Corruption?
Well, the simple answer to that, Iveka, is of course corruption, the scourge of corruption that we've seen basically blossom in the country. The Daily Maverick, of course, got together with Business Leadership South Africa, as well as partnership, media partners are, of course, eNCA, to look bringing in big hitters, in fact, from all sectors of society, to look at tackling the scourge of corruption. Of course, you mentioned some of those big hitters, which is the Public Enterprise Minister, Pravin Gordhan, who is expected to deliver a keynote address here just after 8:30, as well as Bonang Mohale, the Business Leadership South Africa, as well as the National Director of the NPA, Advocate Shamila Batoy. Just some of the people that will be here. Of course, we're expecting a number of panel discussions to take place throughout the course of the day. The first one will be the impact of corruption to society. If you want to understand, to get an example of the trickle-down impact of corruption, you just need to look at the news that made headlines this week. Of course, Denal seeing there some of the employees waking up to news that they'll only be receiving 85% of their salaries. That was eventually rectified by the Public Enterprise Minister. Funding came through. But we understand from the CEO there the blame of Denal's rules is squarely blamed on the ongoing, on state capture, which is, of course, being scrutinized at the ongoing state capture inquiry. Another panel discussion that we're expecting here today is tackling and exposing private sector corruption. There you just only need to look, for example, at Steinhoff and who's actually been prosecuted so far. We understand that the CEO resigned in 2017, and the PwC report has come out implicating a number of people, including Marcus Schuster. But up until this day, we haven't had any accountability or anyone charged. Hopefully, maybe the advocate Shamila Batoy will shed light on maybe possible prosecutions, something to look forward to today. It could or it could not happen. So we're looking forward to a number of panel discussions here today that will, in fact, be looking at tackling the scourge of corruption in the country.
Well, and it's one thing, yes, to have the heavy hitters and have them involved in robust discussions and panel discussions. But I suppose the big question is who is going to be listening, and how do we get the message to those who are involved in this, who are in the thick of this? Because we've had many talk shops, let's be honest. We know corruption. We know the extent of it. We know how bad it is in the country. How do they ensure that this time will mean action?
That's a big question that will, of course, linger on everyone's mind here today. We understand that government is involved. As I mentioned, all sectors of society will be involved here today. So as maybe some of those questions will be answered here. An interesting panel that we're also expecting here is the effect of corruption on business. The panelists there are quite interesting. We understand KPMG's CEO, Dr. Wiseman Gusha, will be part of that panel, as well as SAICA and Bain & Company representatives from SAICA and Bain & Co. We understand that all of those companies have been, one way or another, found wanting when it comes to allegations of corruptions. So maybe, especially when it comes to private sector corruption and accountability there, because we understand there are ongoing state capture inquiry where our colleague Aaron Bates just delved into some of the issues to look forward to today. But accountability, of course, is a major issue, as who is going to be held accountable eventually, Uveka.
And especially when you have those private and then government partnerships that where we see corruption growing there as well between the two. Well, thanks very much, Aviwe Mtila. We'll be dipping in and out of this event today. That is the Daily Maverick Business Against Crime event.